Let us close the eyes for a moment, remembering God and the Masters. We will pray together. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. I bow to one God who is omnipresent, formless. I bow to all the saints and sages of all times and places. I bow to all the masters of Kriya Yoga lineage. And I bow to Lord Krishna. I bow to presence of divine in each one of you. Om. Amen. Good morning and welcome to our Sunday discourse. Tomorrow is the birthday of Lord Krishna. So something from his teachings we will discuss today. Since last year, March 2020, Guruji has been maintaining silence and spending average 10 hours in meditation along with his work of writing books and other things to make his day approximately 18 to 20 hours. Does a realized master like him need to work so hard and meditate so long? When a resident asked him, his answer was, I am meditating for you all. The reason can be understood from a few verses of Bhagavad Gita mentioned in chapter number 3. Because it reminded me of a very beautiful concept of Loka Sangraha, which Guruji is setting an example. Loka Sangraha. So today's topic is Loka Sangraha. So today's topic is Loka Sangraha, welfare of people. There are beautiful verses mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. In the chapter number 3, verse number 20 and 21, when it is said by Lord Krishna, in the battlefield of Mahabharata, Arjuna is dejected and he is not willing to fight. And Lord Krishna is giving him beautiful teachings. In verse number 20 of chapter 3, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, Karmanaiva hi sansiddhim asthita janakadaya loka sangrahamevapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. Then in 21st verse he is telling, Yat yat acharati shresthaha tat tad devetoro jana sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanuvartate. The simple meaning of these two verses, Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, by performing their prescribed duties, King Janaka and others attained perfection. you should also perform your work to set an example for the good of the world. Loka sangraham eva api sampashyan kartum arhasi. And in the second verse is telling, whatever actions great persons perform, common people follow. Whatever standards they set, all the world pursues that. And further, in the next verse, which is also very beautiful, in the same third chapter, verse number 25. Sakta karmanya vidvanso yatha kurvanti bharata kuryad vidvans tatha saktah chikirshu loka sangraham. In this verse also this word has come loka sangraha. The meaning is that as ignorant people perform their duties with attachment to the results, O descendant of Bharata, so should the wise act without attachment for the sake of leading people on the right path. If you see in both these verses, you'll find one word which is loka sangraha, which is common. In the 20th verse, loka sangraham eva api sampashyan. Lord is telling that with a view, sampashyan, with a view to the welfare of the masses. And in 25th verse, he is emphasizing loka sangraham chikirshuhu, wishing the welfare of the world. So one is with the view and one is wishing the welfare of the world. But both the concept is same, that Lord Krishna is emphasizing that the wise should always act for the benefit of the humankind. And the question comes, what is loka sangraha? So loka sangraha, the definition is given by scholars and Adi Shankara. Lokasya unmarga vritti nivaranam loka sangraha tam eva api prayojanam. Meaning, unmarga vritti means going into wrong direction, wrong path. Nivaranam, correcting. So loka sangraha means correcting people's propensity to pursue the opposite path is known as loka sangraha. People have a tendency to deviate from the righteous path, to go in a wrong path. So to correct their propensity to follow this opposite path is known as loka sangraha. Loka sangraha means also desirability of protecting the people. Because loka sangraha is done means karmani to sampashyan, means to prevent people from going in the wrong direction or path. In other way we can say loka sangraha means to help people to evolve. Sangraha, this word has come, if we in Sanskrit, if we split it like etymological meaning, sangraha means samyaka grahana. Samyaka grahana means to receive. So here samyaka grahana is related to thorough control over the 7 chakras, because all the propensities are related to 7 chakras. Here this verse is very important in the context of this modern world. Leaders are expected to guide people in the right path. To achieve what is envisioned, and in that sense loka sangraha is about leadership. This word is in the context of action or work, that is karma yoga. Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that even kings like Janaka were propelled by karma or action in the pursuit of liberation. which is the ultimate goal of life. The noble king Janaka was an exemplar and a role model who never shirked from actions. Therefore, he too should be propelled. He means Arjuna should also be propelled by action to be exemplar so that common people could follow him as a role model. Since Arjuna was standing in the battlefield and the conch shells were blown, making the beginning of war, Lord Krishna enjoins him to engage in his duty and be a part of war rather than withdraw from it, which Arjuna was considering at that time. Lord makes Loka Sangraha as an argument for action, and therefore it is about leadership where the common tendency of people to deviate from the spiritual course is to be corrected by the leader through his or her own example. So in verse 25th of this third chapter, an interesting perspective is presented comparing common people with the wise ones. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that those who do not know the self act with their mind attached to the outcomes of their action, and they are not wise. However, those who know the self, the wise ones, should perform actions without attachment to their actions for Loka Sangraha. In other words, the wise ones should work as hard as those who work for maximizing their own self-worth, except that they should work for the benefit of the society rather than their individual benefit. Therefore, Loka Sangraha is about leadership where the leader works for the benefit of the society. We see again that the focus is not on the person as a leader, but focus is on the society and its well-being. Loka Sangraha focuses on Loka. Loka means space, plane of existence. Loka means people. There are 7 lokas mentioned in pranayama mantra. We chant the mantra Om Bhu, Om Bhuvah, Om Swaha, Om Maha, Om Janah, Om Tapah, Om Satyam, Om Tattvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. So 7 planes are mentioned there. Even during our special pujas, we do Digbandhana, means protection from all directions. So in that also there is a mantra when we chant the Nyasa mantra for that. So we chant it that Om Bhu, Om Bhuva, Om Swaha, Iti Digbandhaha. So these words they come there. Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha. So these 7 planes are known as the Loka. Now, Loka, as we see, how many lokas we have? We have 7 above and 7 below. So below we call it Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatal, Rasatal, Mahatal and Patala. And above, the 7 lokas are in the 7 chakras: Bhuhu, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Swaha, Maha, Jana, Tapa, Satya. Bhuloka is the earth planet. Means all the people who are living on the earth. Bhuvaha is the sky or the space between the earth and sun, where meditators or munis and perfected beings siddhas they dwell upon. Swahaloka is Swargaloka or heaven. Mahaloka is the middle region or the home of saints like sage Bhragu, who survive even after the three lower lokas or universal end. When the universe ends, even these sages, they survive and they live in the Mahaloka. Jana Loka is the place of rebirth or home of Sanat Kumaras, the son of Brahma. Tapa Loka is the home of ascetics, because Tapa means austerity, penance, and Satyam. Satyam is the abode of Brahman in the fontanel, where the cycle of birth and death ends completely. Of these seven, the three, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, and Swaha, are of immediate importance to human beings. These seven lokas are above the earth, and there are seven lokas below the earth, as we discussed. There is also reference to Ihaloka. You will find in scriptures reference to Ihaloka and Paraloka. Ihaloka means this world or material world. Paraloka, the world beyond or supreme. And a spiritual practitioner is advised to pursue liberation, which calls for thinking beyond the material world. So, these are the lokas. The material world is not to be neglected, but to be used as an opportunity to practice virtues and to test how one is progressing in the spiritual journey by becoming detached from this world in one's interactions, behavior, and actions. So Loka means the planes of existence, spaces. Loka means also people, humankind, or the world of different contexts. So it is about other people, not for the self. Loka Sangraha, for other people, not for the self. It is also about the action, and that action brings the self into picture. Loka Sangraha means that each person's action should be directed towards common good, not towards self-interest. Directing our actions towards public good makes us a better and superior person, known as Shrestha in Sanskrit. Lord Krishna is telling, Yat yat acharate Shrestha. Who is the Shrestha? Who is superior or better person? One whose actions are directed towards the public good, not for the self-interest. I'll tell you another beautiful concept. In Yoga Sutra Patanjali and Bhagavad Gita, both, there is a reference to word aparigraha. We are talking about Loka Sangraha. So there is a word also, aparigraha. A means, if we split it, a, pari and graha, three words together, aparigraha. Graha means to acquire. Parigraha means acquire from all around. Paridhi, periphery. So to acquire from all around, and a means not. Therefore, aparigraha means not acquire anything that comes from any direction or non-acquisition. But when it comes to common well-being, the spiritual practitioner is enjoined to harmoniously bring together people from all around for public good. See, aparigraha for the self as a virtue we have to practice, but Loka Sangraha, in that we have to bring people from all around for common good. Aparigraha is also a practice of bringing the extrovert senses to the inner self. And Loka Sangraha allows the practitioner to let the senses go outward, but for public good. As a spiritual practitioner, Loka Sangraha entails cultivating the extrovert senses to see the benefit of others in everything, all the time, and thus reducing selfishness or self-centeredness. A concept related to Loka Sangraha is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. It is in the 12th chapter, 5th verse. The Lord is telling, Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha. Where Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna whether a devotee is superior to a jnani, man of knowledge, or otherwise. Lord Krishna replies that both the path of devotion and path of knowledge lead to self-realization. The devotee constantly seeks Lord Krishna with the highest reverence by placing his or her mind in him. On the other hand, a person who follows the path of knowledge reveres Brahman, who is Akshara, non-decaying, inexplicable, unmanifested, all-pervading, sarvagatam, beyond thought, satyam, changeless, kutastha, unmoving, achala, and constant, dhruvam. These are all qualities mentioned by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita about Brahman. The seeker of knowledge who controls his or her senses is always passionate about the benefit of all beings, sarva bhuta hite rataha. And also he achieves Lord Krishna or Brahman. So a person who is devotee is also doing the same, keeping his mind in God and working, and a person of knowledge is always directing his actions for the good for the people, and he is following this principle of Sarva Bhuta Hite Rata, which is nothing but the Loka Sangraha. So Sarva Bhuta Hite Rata, always engaged in doing good for the people. Sarva Bhuta. So here Bhuta is the ecology. Bhuta means the 5 gross elements. Bhuta means all living beings. So Sarva Bhuta Hitarata as a goal or objective is followed by the Jnanis, and that is like Loka Sangraha. In other words, a person pursuing Loka Sangraha has to be passionate about the welfare of all beings. Thus, a noble person or a leader is not only focused on common good, but is passionate about the well-being of all beings. Such a definition of leadership has been missing in the leadership literature and adds a new perspective about not only the practice of leadership but also its research. In the modern time, we need such leaders. Let me talk a little bit more about this Loka Sangraha related to the philosophy of karma or action. If you go back to the chapter 2nd in Bhagavad Gita, in verse number 39, first time this word karma appears as karma bandhanam. Karma bandhanam, which refers to bondage resulting from doing action. According to Adi Shankara, it includes dharma and adharma. That means bondage results not only from doing all kinds of work, but also from performing all activities that are guided by morality or those which are prohibited by the dharma or righteousness, which is known as adharma. So bondage can be from both, whether you are performing the action prescribed by the dharma or which are prohibited by dharma and you are doing that. So you can be bound. The word appears again, the karma, in 9th verse of chapter number 3 and 9th chapter 28th verse, and it is used in the same sense. Karma bandhana. Thus karma always leads to karma bandhana or bondage, except when it is done with a balance of samatva. Samatva means harmony or balance. Loka Sangraha offers a passage to break the bondage of karma or action, because otherwise we will always be bound with the karma, because we perform the action with expectation of result always. So we are bound with that, and if we follow Loka Sangraha, then it is a passage provided to break this bondage of action, because Loka Sangraha is not for self, it is for other people. In second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 47th verse, I think this is the most famous verse of Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna that one has only the right to perform his or her own duty and does not have ever any right over the fruits of those actions. He is further instructed neither to work with his mind on achieving the fruits of his action, nor to become attached to not doing his work, since the fruits are not to be desired. We see that Bhagavad Gita defines the purpose of work. Work is to be performed for its own sake, not for its outcome. And yet, this should not demotivate one to become inactive. When one works for the benefit of others, following the credo of Loka Sangraha, a pathway is available to avoid pursuing the fruits of action, because your actions, your motive is directed for the benefit of others. In following verse, second chapter, 48th verse, where you can find the definition of yoga, Lord is telling, Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. So here Lord is telling how to perform one's action in this world. So Lord Krishna asks Arjuna to perform all work without any attachment. Sangam tyaktva, without attachment, by performing tasks with indifference towards success or failure. Siddhi, asiddhi, samaha bhutva. Be indifferent whether it is a failure or success, you perform your action as a duty. And situating himself in yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate. So yogastha kuru karmani. You perform your actions being united with God or being in the state of yoga, without attachment towards the result of action, as well as without thinking of success or failure. Again, if I take you back to this chapter 3, in the first verse of chapter 3, Arjuna is complaining to Lord Krishna that if the path of knowledge is superior, why you are asking me to engage in this ferocious battle? In response, Lord Krishna says that there are two paths that one can follow to engage in the world. The path of Samkhya or knowledge, and the path of Karma Yoga or action. And further, Lord is explaining that simply avoiding or not starting work does not lead to the state where one is free from bondage. Just as simply renouncing the world does not lead to self-realization. The intent is that not doing work is not an option, which is clarified in the 5th verse of 3rd chapter by stating that living beings are simply not able to stay away from work even for a moment. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtati akarmakrat. As they are compelled to act or made to act, whether one likes it or not, they have to perform action. This suggests a role for the Shrestha person or a leader, that a leader should educate others that non-work is not a choice. So be engaged into action. And again, further Lord is telling that if one forces the organs of action not to engage in work, but the mind keeps chasing the actions, then one is a hypocrite or sinner. And in the 7th verse of 3rd chapter, Lord is showing the way. One should control the mind and only engage in the work with the organs of action remaining detached from all aspects of work and its outcomes. Such a person is a karma yogi, one who practices karma yoga or path in which one is engaged in actions and performs work with the body, but the mind is connected to Brahman, God. When one works in this way, the outcome of one's action have no motivating potential, and one constantly pursues an inward journey which is inherently fulfilling and satisfying. Thus Lord Krishna establishes work or action as a path or karma yoga equal to path of knowledge or jnana yoga. It rules out the option of not performing work because it is simply not possible to do so. And it states that work is innate to all beings and we are naturally propelled to act. Forcing the body not to act but not being able to control the mind from engaging in work is futile and hypocritical. And the ideal way to work is to keep the mind anchored internally while engaging in work externally. The Loka Sangraha focused person is able to achieve the same ends while engaging in the world of action by passionately seeking the best outcome for others. Sometimes people come and ask me that, oh Swamiji, I have already done so much work. I am not interested anymore in my job. I just want to meditate. Is it possible? Yes, you can meditate, but how long? You cannot meditate 12 hours, 16 hours. You have to work. Volunteer or involunteer work. Actions cannot be avoided. So why not perform your action for a Loka Sangraha, for the benefit of others? If you have capacity to earn money, earn it, because God has provided you opportunity. God has given you resources. God has given you intellect and skill to earn, and you don't want to fight, you don't want to earn. Earn it. My teacher told me the same thing. Who told you to earn for yourself? He said, earn and help others, those who are not able to earn money. Earn knowledge and distribute it to others who don't have time. This is Loka Sangraha. Having established that one should work. Next, what is work? What work is dealt with? So in the 3rd chapter, Lord Krishna is telling in the 8th verse that one should perform the prescribed work, which Adi Shankara interprets as work that is prescribed in the Vedas, for which no outcomes are stated. Means your duty, not with attachment. In other words, It is work handed down to people by tradition. People know what they are supposed to do, and when in doubt, the elders can guide them to the right work. This becomes clear because in the same verse two reasons are given for doing one's work. First, doing one's work is superior to not doing it. And second, we cannot go on with the journey of life without performing our work. Both these reasons allude to prescribed work that is done to sustain one's life. When we work only to sustain ourselves, we do not overeat. Just for sustaining ourselves. We don't overeat, we don't drink too much, or we don't have too many clothes, or we use big cars or houses, and so forth. To use some examples from various domains of consumption I am talking about. Because we just want to survive with minimum. In other words, there is no excessive consumption on our part. In fact, a person living to sustain his or her life would doctor his or her consumption like a dose of medicine. And that invariably would have plenty for everybody else. Similarly, a person focused on loka sangraha follows the path of consuming a little and nurturing others with the resources at one's disposal. This suggests a role for Shrestha person or a leader. A leader should inspire others to do their best prescribed work. So, verse number 20 and 25th of 3rd chapter, which we begin with, it gives the idea of living a life for the welfare of the society from multiple perspectives. First, in the 20th verse, Lord is telling that King Janaka, who was known to be a self-realized person, is presented as an exemplar of leading a life by following the philosophy of Nishkama Karma, selfless action. And implicit in the statement is the fact that even kings can pursue such a path despite the demands of the administration of a country. This is instructive because most people today work in organizations or have to deal with organizations, which requires dealing with affairs much like kings had to deal with. This is particularly applicable to managers and CEOs, the kings of organizational world we live in today. Later in the 4th chapter, this idea is further emphasized in verse 15, when Lord Krishna cites the tradition as a rationale for Arjuna to engage in the battle. He tells Arjuna that those desirous of liberation, moksha, from birth and death cycle, in the past had also engaged in the roles prescribed for their caste or varna, means their stage of life, and so he should do the same. Lord Krishna states that common people follow the examples of leaders. Yat yat acharate shrestah tat tat devo itaro janah. And in the verse 22nd, Lord has given a beautiful example. Though he did not need anything, means Lord is telling about himself that he did not need anything and there was nothing that he could not achieve. Yet he engaged himself in mundane work so that people would emulate him. It is implied here that even a divine being has to work, not only when he or she comes in human form, but also when a divine being is in his or her non-human or universal form. This idea is further emphasized in chapter 4, where Lord Krishna tells Arjun that actions neither touch him nor does desire nor he desire their outcomes. And namam karmani limpanti. And those who thus understand him are not bound by karma or action. So thus, if Arjuna and other people were to follow the example of Lord Krishna, they should neither be attached to whatever they do nor pursue the fruits of their actions to avoid the bondage that comes with the actions. Finally, 25th verse, when Lord is telling, the wise ones are also exhorted to work for the benefit of the society just as hard as those who pursue material benefit for their work. The importance of work is further captured in the same chapter, where the wise are advised to engage the materially oriented people in work, because working for material gain is superior to not working. Thus, work is not to be avoided. Everybody is supposed to work hard. It is better to work for material benefit than not to work. And those who work hard to serve others pursue a path of spiritual self-development through their work itself, karma yoga. When one pursues loka sangraha, not only all these conditions are met, but also some of them are surpassed, as one passionately works for the benefit of others. This is why Sri Gurudev always said, my life is not for me, but for others. I'll conclude with a beautiful example. In 1993, I visited Gurudev in Raurkela Ashram in India. Gurudev had some paralytic attack on right side because he took it from a disciple and suffered to make the disciple happy and healthy to cure the other disciple. However, when he was lying on bed, doctors have advised him not to get up. And when I saw him, he was keeping a scarf, lying down, keeping a scarf on the right leg, and in the lying posture he was practicing Mahamudra. I thought that why does he need? Because he is already realized in 1948 he had already achieved Nirvikal Samadhi and he has established himself in that state. Why does he need to practice now? And my teacher immediately told me, because he wants to set an example. If he does not do, then other people will start following. So this is the verse, yat yat acharate shrestha, leaders, whatever they set example or they do, other people follow that. And this is the reason that Sri Guruji is meditating 10 hours per day now for us. Because we cannot meditate, he is meditating for us. However, we are working in organizations, we are working in society, we are working in our family as a head of the family. So we are leader, we are Shrestha. Being a leader, our duty is to do Loka Sangraha. Engage people in good work. Engage yourself also for the benefit of the society. Don't work only for your own self-interest. This is what Loka Sangraha, a very beautiful concept. To follow the leaders. So leaders should first follow and then we can follow the leaders. But this Loka Sangraha concept is for everybody, whoever is alive, working or acting. Thank you very much for participating in this discourse today. Let us do some practice. Time for meditation. Please keep your spine straight. Chin slightly down. Keep your attention in between the eyebrows. We call it the soul center. Withdraw all the sense organs and the mind from the external world of objects. 100% attention in the soul center. Let us watch our breath. Feel presence of divine in each breath. Remembering God and breathing is also Loka Sangraha. Gurudev said, one breath is one life. As you become aware of your breath, mind is more settled, more focused. Let us practice some deep breathing. Try to breathe slow, long, and deep as per your own capacity, and watch the movement of breath from top of the head to bottom of the spine. Please inhale to the top of the head, low. Exhale, peace. Inhale, love. Exhale, peace. Inhale, love. Exhale, peace. Inhale, peace. exhale, love, inhale, peace, exhale, love, inhale, peace, exhale, love, inhale, love, exhale, peace, inhale, love, exhale, peace, inhale, love, exhale, peace, inhale, love, exhale, peace. Normal conscious breath. Breath becomes very slow, feeble. Body is completely steady. Mind is tranquil. Forget the breath. Remain inside the cranium. Let merge yourself in the inner space. Meditate in silence. extreme calmness, the state of divine bliss. Bring your attention back to the point in between the eyebrows. Your body is completely refreshed. Mind is peaceful. Complete relaxation. More love. Maintain this state of calmness in all your activities throughout the day. Praying for the well-being of everyone in this creation. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santo Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all become happy and healthy, loving, noble and compassionate. May there be no suffering or sorrow. May there be more love, peace, harmony and prosperity among us and in the entire creation. May the blessings of God and the Masters be upon us all. Om. Amen. I bow to God within you all. Thank you all.